Everybody loves surprises, right? Well, if you're in the case of the Drag Race producers, these might have come as a bit of a shock. We've seen hundreds of lip syncs across all the franchises of Drag Race. And I would say most of the time, especially later in the season, we have a pretty good idea of which queen is going to win that lip sync. A lot of the time, we look at the track record of the queens, their performance ability, and just generally, how are we seeing them on the season? Are they getting a good edit? Are they getting a contender edit? And if so, they're probably going to survive that lip sync. But sometimes a queen's performance in a lip sync is just so good that the producers have to throw away their narrative and continue with this queen throughout the rest of the competition. Today we'll be talking about 5 times that a queen unexpectedly won a lip sync. Whether the queen eliminated a frontrunner or they just had an amazing performance, these queens turned the producers on their heads by performing so well they just couldn't be eliminated. Starting off our list, we'll be talking about a queen who has become a franchise favorite among the fans, but she's probably never coming back to Drag Race. On season 6, we had a lot of big names. We had Bianca Del Rio, we had Adore Delano, we had Courtney Act, the RuPaul of Australia. But what about Jocelyn Fox? She made it all the way to 6th place on season 6, but she didn't really have much of a storyline. She had a little bit of a rivalry between Courtney Act, but other than that, Jocelyn was just kind of there in the middle of the road for the majority of the competition. When we got to the comedy challenge, we got some amazing performances. We had Bianca Del Rio's iconically amazing performance, and then we got Laganja Estrange's iconically bad performance. Jocelyn was somewhere in the middle. The week prior, we saw BenDeLaCreme saved from elimination with a double Shantae versus Darienne Lake, and this week we saw her come back with one of the worst roasts, or I guess comedy performances, of the week. Jocelyn also didn't do amazing, but the producers knew they couldn't stick Ben in the bottom right after they just saved her the week before. So they figured, Jocelyn, she's a queen that doesn't have much of a storyline, let's just dump her in the bottom against Laganja, who we know is an amazing lip syncer, and then Laganja can continue her storyline with Adore and her storyline with her feeling attacked. What they didn't expect, though, was Jocelyn to be such an amazing performer. She hadn't fallen into the bottom yet, so we didn't really know much about her performance ability. Even in the Rusical, she kind of had a mediocre performance with a small role. For the lip sync to Stupid Girls by Pink, Jocelyn turned it out with an attitude that I don't think the judges expected from somebody who was in the middle of the road like Jocelyn. She pushed up her bra like that, she hit the splits at the same beat that Laganja hit it. She did everything that Laganja could do, but she did it better. And that's why they had to keep Jocelyn in the competition. Jocelyn didn't last much longer in the competition. She was eliminated in the controversial makeover episode 2 episodes later, but still, Jocelyn had an amazing performance in this lip sync and one of the best performances of season 6. And that's why Jocelyn is on this list. Jumping back a couple of seasons, I think the very first time that we saw a contender eliminated for the crown before they made it to the top 3 or top 4 was on season 2. This pains me to say, but my 2 favorite queens on season 2 were Tatiana and Jessica Wilde, and they both ended up in the bottom 2 after the Absolute Vodka interview challenge. This is where Jessica said her first of many iconic lines,
"I love that drink."
But still, Jessica, even though she had an amazing and interesting interview that we still talk about today, the judges weren't a big fan of her book cover, which dropped her into the bottom. We all know how Raven feels about Tatiana's performance in this challenge.
Her interview with her look with her book cover with her trying to launch and sell her book to the judges with
So that's why she landed in the bottom 2. With these 2, I think even Tatiana thought this was the end of the road for her. Jessica was one of the front runners, she was the fan favorite of the season. I guess not that Tatiana knew that, but still, for the fans watching at home, they thought Jessica, who had won a performance challenge earlier in the season, was a shoo-in to win this lip sync. Unfortunately for Jessica, she didn't really know the words and just missed the mark when it came to the emotion of the song, which was He's the Greatest Dancer by Sister Sledge. Tatiana didn't go for the disco dance moves that Jessica did. She instead went for the emotion of the song, really hit the lines, and had a great time with it. Jessica focused on the dancing, but she wasn't mouthing the words, and here we lost the frontrunner of the season, the only one who could have stood a chance against Tyra Sanchez when Jessica went home here. And if you take a look at Tatiana's face, that will tell you something about the fan reaction at the time. Tatiana wasn't seen as an amazing lip syncer after this performance, and I don't think that perception changed until she came back for All Stars 2 with the Shut Up and Drive lip sync. But still, this was a shocking moment for the early seasons of Drag Race and a time when the producers had to send home somebody who was a frontrunner in the competition. This next lip sync is something that I've talked about a couple different times on my channel, but I just really love this lip sync, so I'm adding it here on this list. Drag Race Down Under 3, I always say it's kind of a forgotten season, but it did have some exciting moments. One of those most exciting moments came on the Final 4 episode when we had the makeovers. The bottom two ended up being Hollywood Star and Gabriella Labucci. I think that both of these queens were in producers' eyes as potential winners for that season, but Hollywood was more of a frontrunner. She hadn't fallen into the bottom, and she had won 2 challenges that season. Gabriella had won 1 challenge, but she had been kind of faltering, landing in the bottom the week before. When the song came on, which was Haiku Hands, It's Not About You, I think most of the fans thought, okay, this is a dancey, fun song, I guess if they knew that song, but when you heard the vibe, Hollywood was a shoo-in to win this lip sync. What we didn't expect though was for Gabriella to turn it on as much as she did. She was able to dance and she hit every word. Hollywood had the performance ability, but she didn't hit the words and the moves like Gabriella did. Gabriella was able to send home a frontrunner of the season, probably the only one who could have competed with Isis there at the end, to make it to that final 3 with Floor. And I will say it again, this is one of my favorite lip syncs in Drag Race history. I think you all should check it out if you haven't already. It's the redeeming quality of Drag Race Down Under Season 3. The next lip sync I'll be talking about is from one of my favorite queens in Drag Race history. But before we do that, let's talk about Season 16. Season 16 had multiple queens win 3 lip syncs across the season. We had Geneva Carr, we had Maya Iman LePage, and we had Morphine. We had 3 queens who were lip sync assassins on Drag Race. Usually on Drag Race, if you've already lip synced twice, if you land on the bottom again, you're probably going to be sent packing. And that's what we expected here for the Goth Design Challenge when Maya Iman LePage landed in the bottom for the 3rd time. I think going into that challenge, we probably expected Maya to land in that spot because in the first 2 design challenges, she was either low or in the bottom. Whoever was going to be against her was probably going to be the one that sent her home. Unfortunately for Plasma, that was not the case. For the Goth Design Challenge, everyone went with a gown or something resembling a long draping cape design. Plasma went for a more traditional goth emo kid look, which you might have expected in 2008, probably. Fortunately, Plasma had the worst look of the week, and she landed in the bottom with Maya. For this week's lip sync, we had the Bloody Mary TikTok remix, which was basically a sped up version of Lady Gaga's Bloody Mary. I think if it was maybe the original Bloody Mary, Plasma would have done an amazing job and won that lip sync, but unfortunately, this was the sped up remix. So my favorite queen of the season, Maya, was able to rely on her tricks of flips and dancing and performance to send Plasma home. This was unexpected because Plasma had been killing the competition up to this point. She had won 2 challenges, this was her first time in the bottom, and she had been doing amazing across the entire season. One slip up shouldn't cost you the crown, or so she thought. This lip sync proved that lip syncs do still matter. Maya had been in the bottom multiple times, but it didn't matter because her performance was just that good. She did backflips in a gown. That's pretty amazing, and it is probably what saved her from elimination. We knew Maya was probably not going to win the season, but she did come away from this lip sync as a lip sync assassin, certified, established, and she sent home one of the frontrunners of the season with this unexpected lip sync win. The last lip sync that I'll be talking about for this video is a lip sync that you probably expected to be on this list when you clicked on the thumbnail. Yes, I'll be talking about Peppermint taking out Cynthia Lee Fontaine to Madonna's music. Yes, Cynthia had an amazing performance, definitely one of the frontrunners of the season. Her cuckoo was on fire, and Peppermint was just not. Yeah, that's right, Cynthia was gonna win the crown, and no. Okay, the one that I'll actually be talking about is the "I'd Like to Keep It On Please" heard around the fandom when Valentina lost her lip sync to Nina Bonina Brown to Ariana Grande's Greedy. This was, without a doubt, the most shocking time that a queen unexpectedly won a lip sync, and in this case, it was simply because Valentina did not know the words. I think even if Valentina had taken off the mask and pretended to know the words a little bit, she probably could get the chorus, and that might have been enough to save her against Nina, who was already kind of on the way out in the producer's eyes. But unfortunately, she emphasized the fact that she didn't know the words, and that's what sent Valentina packing on season 9. I know people are probably going to say it's a lip sync, it should be judged based on that lip sync, and yeah, it totally should. But this is Drag Race, and not everything is done that way, and they take into account fan reception, I guess likely fan reception, their performance across the season, and then the lip sync can be tacked on there. But unfortunately, with all this in mind, Valentina still lost. And that just goes to show that the lip sync does matter sometimes on Drag Race. Those are the 5 times that I first thought of when I thought of a queen who unexpectedly won a lip sync. Who did I miss? What franchises did I leave out? Let me know in the comments and stay tuned for more unexpected lip sync wins here on Wildspear.